the manufacture and distribution of narcotics. How do you plead?
Hey there, you worthless meat puppets, it's me, the friend Thinker, and there's a reason why we exist. Now, in regard to this point, I will catch on to this point at the very end of the video, and you'll have to watch it fully to finally grasp the reasoning of that point. Now, in regards to MGTOW, like, we all know what MGTOW is, men going their own way. That's just a common thing that everybody just knows. But what people don't really realize is that MGTOW is comparable to feminism. Feminism teaches that basically all men are evil. And MGTOW is the exact opposite, being that MGTOW, in a sense, hates all women to a big degree. And this is especially prevalent when MGTOWs talk about female nature. Which I always found it funny that the two groups, in particular feminism and MGTOWism, is not only comparable, but if we are in the discussion of Marxist ideologies, you'll notice that Marxism, its greatest asset, its greatest tool to destroy the family, to destroy society, is MGTOW, believe it or not. And there's a reason for it. And we all know that men going their own way literally means men going their own way. That may not seem much to you, but if you start including monks, or say MGTOWs are going ghost, those people that literally walk away, not just from the plantation as they refer to, but as from society as well, when they stop certainly participating in it, that's when it becomes destructive. That's when Marxist ideology is actually winning. That's when Marxism will eventually break in society and bring an end to it, largely because MGTOW, in a sense, is its greatest asset or tool. And I always found it funny that the MGTOWs don't even realize this yet. They haven't realized that they're being played by the feminists, by the Marxists, and it's working on them. Now, granted, while this is destroying the family and certainly society in itself, while that's going on, a lot of those people will deny it, that will put their fingers in their ears and say, la la la, I can't hear you. Well, that's because they're too stuck in their ideology to realize that they're not only being played as a part of a tool, but that tool in particular will lead to more harm in our society. And when that society crumbles, then what's stopping, say, certain forces from retaking that over and making it worse? Hence, that's why I'm not a MGTOW, because I don't like being used as a tool. And certainly I don't like being played as one. And I've had conversations with good MGTOWs here and there, and I do appreciate their conversations. And I'll always appreciate it. In my previous video I mentioned you can talk to us, which I will always say you can always talk to us, and I'm free and open for that. And I do appreciate it. And to those who are smart enough to realize that they're better than the other average MGTOWs, that they actually are skeptical of each other, those are the ones I appreciate. The ones I cannot and will not tolerate are the ones that are blind idiots that like to basically walk around the cornfield and scream, "Where's the goddamn corn?" while they're literally blindfolded by their own stupidity. With those people in particular, I will naturally go after them really hard. And those people, they just don't realize that they're being played like a tool. In that sense, in the beginning, as I stated, there's a reason why we exist. In the end, we exist largely to not only be skeptical of the MGTOW ideology, but to also give a critical eye of the MGTOW arguments and certainly what they place out in the videos, or what they preach about. And also, it's a form of freedom if you think about it, because if feminism is about destroying the family system with Marxism, and MGTOW is sort of the reverse and is also a tool and is being used for the same exact reasons, I would argue that anti-MGTOWism is somewhat freedom. In this regard, I would also say that MGTOW is also enslavement. It is enslavement of two reasons. Firstly being, I've noticed that a lot of people are very sympathetic towards MGTOW ideology, which I don't blame them for. What I do blame is that being sympathetic is fine and all dandy, but I've noticed it's made a lot of people blind to the idea that MGTOW itself isn't exactly a thing that's all perfect. In no ideology, nothing is perfect. Everyone has their own bad elephant in the corner, if you know what I mean. Everybody does have that morbidly obese individual back in that little corner saying something nonsensical that is harmful and counterproductive to their own ideology. And the fact that there's an overwhelming narrative from some people that I know of that apparently we have to be sympathetic to the MGTOW ideology, we can't speak ill of it. Yeah, I've noticed that narrative, and I reject that narrative altogether. And I refuse to bow down to any MGTOW individual, regardless of fame, popularity, or what they think. It's also enslavement on the grounds that I've noticed a lot of people will claim it's anti-male to go after MGTOW, which it isn't. That's just an excuse to try and shut down the conversation in my eyes. Going after MGTOW doesn't make the individual inherently anti-male. It doesn't even make the person anti-men's rights. Going after MGTOW is just being critical of MGTOW, that's it. It has nothing to do with being anti-male. And by all accounts, I've said time and time again that I am not anti-male. In conclusion, I would rather go with anti-MGTOWism, and the reason why we exist is because there's a rational and logical reason for not being MGTOW. And also because I see MGTOW as a form of enslavement when it comes to the overall narrative that some people like to try and pressure down smaller people to try and do, basically.